A crowded terminal at Dallas, Fort Worth International Airport fell strangely silent as a young mother clutched her feverish little boy beneath a faded blue blanket, watching the man she had once trusted with her entire heart disappear through the boarding gate without looking back even once. In that heartbreaking moment, everyone believed they had witnessed the end of one family's story. No one could have imagined they had actually witnessed the beginning of a life-changing miracle. The greatest shock of all was that the exhausted woman standing alone beside the departure screen secretly owned one of America's largest airline companies, valued at over $10 billion, and the husband who abandoned her had never bothered to learn the truth about the woman he married. Before this unforgettable story begins, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, share it with someone who still believes kindness changes lives, and leave a comment telling us whether you believe people always regret the chances they throw away. Your support helps us continue bringing emotional stories that touch hearts around the world. Grace Whitmore had never cared about wealth, luxury, or public attention. Born into one of the most respected aviation families in the United States, she spent her childhood watching aircraft take off from company hangars instead of attending glamorous parties. Her father believed every child should earn respect before inheriting success, so Grace grew up using ordinary transportation, working summer jobs, and hiding her famous last name whenever possible. By the time she became an adult, almost nobody outside the airline's board of directors knew she was the sole owner of Whitmore Air after her parents passed away in a tragic accident years earlier. The company was worth more than $10 billion, but Grace continued living quietly because she wanted people to love her for her heart, not her fortune. During a volunteer event at a community hospital in Chicago, she met Matthew Collins, a charming financial consultant who seemed thoughtful, ambitious, and compassionate. Matthew admired Grace's humility without ever asking questions about her family. Grace believed she had finally found someone who loved simplicity just as much as she did. Within 2 years they married and welcomed their beautiful son, Noah, whose joyful smile became the center of their universe. Everything changed shortly after Noah turned 3. Doctors discovered he suffered from a rare heart condition requiring specialized treatment in Boston. The diagnosis shattered Grace's peaceful world, but she remained determined to do everything possible for her little boy. Matthew, however, slowly became frustrated by endless hospital visits, medical expenses, and sleepless nights. Although money was never actually a problem because Grace quietly paid every bill herself, Matthew assumed they were barely surviving. Instead of asking questions, he allowed resentment to replace love. Grace never revealed that she could have written a check for every hospital in America. She believed honesty mattered, but timing mattered too. She wanted Matthew to love their family because they were family, not because they possessed unimaginable wealth. The morning they arrived at Dallas, Fort Worth International Airport for Noah's emergency flight to Boston became the darkest day of Grace's life. Noah's fever had risen overnight, and every minute mattered. Long security lines, delayed departures, and endless announcements created overwhelming pressure. Matthew suddenly exploded with anger. He blamed Grace for everything, claiming their lives had become nothing but hospitals and suffering. Before stunned travelers could understand what was happening, he grabbed his carry-on suitcase, purchased another ticket, and boarded a different flight for Los Angeles where he planned to accept a new job and begin a completely different life. Grace stood frozen while Noah rested weakly against her shoulder. Tears rolled silently down her face, but she refused to collapse. She kissed her son's forehead, whispered a promise inside her heart that she would never abandon him, and focused only on reaching Boston. Nearby, an elderly airport employee named Michael Henderson noticed everything. After helping passengers for nearly 40 years, he recognized genuine heartbreak when he saw it. Without asking unnecessary questions, he contacted airport medical staff, arranged priority boarding, and personally walked Grace and Noah to their gate. His quiet compassion reminded Grace that strangers sometimes become angels during life's darkest hours. Noah successfully underwent surgery several weeks later. Recovery was slow, painful, and uncertain, but every tiny improvement felt like another sunrise after a long storm. Throughout those difficult months, Grace never spoke publicly about her family or her company. She attended board meetings through secure video calls from hospital rooms while reading bedtime stories beside Noah's bed. Executives admired her leadership without realizing she often made billion-dollar decisions while holding her sleeping son's hand. Meanwhile, Matthew discovered that abandoning responsibility did not bring happiness. His new job quickly fell apart after several dishonest business decisions came to light inside the investment firm that hired him. Friends disappeared. Relationships failed. Every excuse he once used to justify leaving his family slowly collapsed beneath the weight of guilt. Yet pride kept him from calling Grace. Nearly a year later, Whitmore Air announced a nationwide expansion that attracted enormous media attention. Television interviews introduced America's newest aviation leader to millions of viewers for the first time. Sitting alone inside a small apartment, Matthew nearly dropped his coffee when Grace appeared on the screen standing beside a fleet of newly unveiled aircraft. The reporter described her as the billionaire owner whose company had quietly become one of the fastest-growing airlines in the country. Matthew felt the room begin to spin. Every painful memory returned instantly. The woman he had abandoned at the airport was not struggling financially. She had been carrying responsibilities greater than he could ever imagine while protecting their sick child. She had never hidden money to deceive him. She had hidden her identity because she wanted genuine love. The realization haunted him every waking moment. Months later, Matthew requested a meeting through Whitmore Air's corporate office. He expected rejection. Instead, Grace agreed to meet him inside the company's headquarters in Dallas. When Matthew entered the executive conference room, he barely recognized the confident woman before him. Grace no longer looked broken. Years of hardship had transformed her quiet kindness into remarkable strength. Family photographs covered one wall, including smiling pictures of Noah, now healthy enough to play soccer with friends after successful treatment. Matthew apologized repeatedly, admitting that fear, selfishness, and immaturity had destroyed everything beautiful in his life. He confessed that discovering her wealth was never the greatest shock. The greatest shock was realizing she had remained faithful to their son while he had chosen the easiest escape. Grace listened without anger. The deepest wounds had already healed long before that meeting. She explained that forgiveness and reconciliation were not always the same thing. She forgave him because carrying hatred would only burden her own heart. But trust, once abandoned beside an airport gate with a sick child, could never simply be rebuilt with apologies. She thanked him for finally accepting responsibility, wished him peace, and quietly ended the meeting. Matthew walked away understanding that some opportunities never return. Grace devoted the following years to creating the Noah Hope Foundation, funding free medical flights for critically ill children across the United States. Families who could never afford emergency travel suddenly found themselves transported safely to specialized hospitals without paying a single dollar. Every aircraft carrying those children reminded Grace of the terrifying day she once believed she had lost everything. Little Noah eventually learned the complete story as a teenager. Instead of growing bitter toward his father, he chose compassion. He volunteered alongside his mother, greeting frightened children before flights and reminding anxious parents they were never alone. His scars became symbols of survival instead of suffering. Thousands of families experienced miracles because one woman refused to allow heartbreak to define her future. Grace transformed personal pain into hope for complete strangers, proving that true wealth is measured not by billions of dollars but by lives forever changed through kindness. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs a reminder that strength is often born from heartbreak. Your support allows us to continue sharing stories that inspire millions. Before you leave, tell us in the comments, do you believe Matthew deserved a second chance after abandoning his wife and sick son, or were Grace's actions the right choice? Grace never became famous because she owned a $10 billion airline. She became unforgettable because, when life gave her every reason to become bitter, she chose compassion instead. And somewhere above the clouds, Every child flying toward another chance at life became living proof that the greatest victories are never built on revenge, they are built on love, courage, forgiveness, and the quiet determination to never leave anyone behind.